welcome to the January 2018 Star Wars Canon Update. This month we got 12 new comic issues, and that's a lot to cover, so let's get going. The main Star Wars comic continued with issues 41 and 42. This storyline has been the best the series has had in a while, following Luke, Han, Leia, and Chewie as they help what's left of Saw Gerrera's partisans defend what's left of Jedha. Luke, Leia, and Han have all had good little character arcs as well. Luke is learning lessons about the Force that will echo into The Last Jedi. Leia is learning to see past whatever mission she has at any given moment, and Han is becoming more of a leader. Luke also learned more about Jyn Erso and Rogue One, which is great to see. I still don't really like the art style, but overall it seemed to be improving this month. Darth Vader 10 was another home run. Every month I gush about this comic, and the second arc ended just as strongly as the first. Vader battles Jocasta Nu and ultimately kills her despite the Emperor's command to spare her. He also destroys the list of Force-sensitive children. It's interesting to see this early defiance from Vader. Jocasta's potential Jedi training facility becomes forgotten until Luke stumbles across it decades later. I love everything about this series, and I can't wait to read it every single month. Poe Dameron 23 was another really good issue. Charles Soule outdid himself this month. I do think this series is about to come to an end, probably with issue 26 due out in April. The First Order has Lor San Tekka, but Black Squadron is hot on his trail, and it looks like they're all headed towards Jakku. Poe's Special Forces X-Wing took considerable damage, which would explain why he didn't have it at the start of The Force Awakens. I'm most interested in Terex's story in all this. Since he wasn't involved in the movie, we don't know where it's headed, and I've grown to like him as a villain. I hope he sticks around for future stories. One more thing I want to mention is this collection of ships the Neimoidians have. First, in the lower right, you can see part of what I think is an E-Wing, so that's pretty awesome to have back. I've always loved that ship. But the starfighter Poe ultimately chooses to fly, which is similar to a V-Wing, is described as the personal fighter of a Casselian spice magnate who fell on hard times. I wouldn't be surprised at all to see this ship in Solo: A Star Wars Story, as well as the story of how that magnate fell on hard times, which was probably Han's fault. Dr. Aphra 16 continues to be one of the most fun and unique stories going on in Star Wars right now. I forgot to cover it last month, but the gist of the arc right now is that 000 has gathered a team and demanded that they recover his memories. Apparently, Wat Tambor had them during the Clone Wars, and now they're being held in the most secure facility of the Tarkin Initiative. Aphra hasn't reached the place yet, but on the trail she enters what she calls a Hellhulk station from the 100-Year Darkness that has some Sith relics in there, including what might be considered a Sith Technobeast. DJ Most Wanted is a one-shot comic about DJ and how he wound up in prison on Canto Bight. I won't go into details here because it just came out yesterday. I'll just say that it was okay. I wasn't a big fan of the character in The Last Jedi, but if you were, you'll probably like it more than I did. Star Wars Adventures Issue 6 offered 2 more short stories, one following Rose and one about young Anakin. The Rose story was written by Delilah Dawson and takes place right before The Last Jedi as far as I can tell, and we get to see how Rose and Poe first met. Like I've said before about this series, it's kinda like Forces of Destiny. I wouldn't call them required reading, but if you've got some younger Star Wars fans in your house that want to get into some comics, these are perfect. Speaking of Forces of Destiny, Star Wars Adventures expanded their line by introducing comics in the Forces of Destiny line. We got new stories about Leia, Hera, Ahsoka, Padme, Rose, and Paige. There was a Rey story as well, but it was an adaptation of the YouTube episodes we already got. The most interesting story of this bunch was Leia's, which also features Hera and takes place on Hoth, so it's fun to see her popping up during the events of the original trilogy. Hera's story also brought the otter-like Solonian species back into canon. The Ahsoka and Padme issue was surprisingly good. It was sort of an adaptation of one of their YouTube stories, but it was expanded upon. It featured a practice duel between Ahsoka and Barriss in the Jedi Temple training room before Barriss went all evil, and led into the animated episode that featured the changeling Cato Parasiti. And finally, the story about Paige and Rose was about the Resistance's early days on Dakar as they struggled to find resources. Here's the thing about the whole Forces of Destiny line. They're obviously not made with me in mind. I don't exactly look forward to the new stories, but if I had a daughter, I would be very grateful for them. Also released this month was a young reader adaptation of Leia's Forces of Destiny YouTube episodes, and a comic adaptation of Smuggler's Run, a book from the Journey to the Force Awakens line. But that's it for January. For Story of the Month, I'm gonna have to give that to the Darth Vader comic again. 10 issues in, and it has yet to miss a beat. Every issue feels like it reveals something significant about Vader, and I can't recommend it enough. The Canon update will return on March 1st to cover everything released in the month of February, including the return of Star Wars Rebels and 7 new comics. Until then, make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel to keep up with new Star Wars videos every single day. As always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.